The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. I am very clearly not Bill Pucko. I am Toby Motyka from 13 WHAM Sports, filling in for Bill, who has the week off. Very usual cast of characters around me, however. 13 WHAM Sports Director Mike Catalana.
Good to be back.
See you soon again.
Yes, I'll be back at work.
At Duffy, 96.5 WCMF. Nice subdued jersey for you today.
No, thank you very much. Nothing better than a classic, vintage, authentic champion jersey. Grant Hill Pistons. Jealous.
Vintage, like your beard.
Yeah, much like something.
And also, speaking of vintage, Kevin Oklobzija. Wow. Rochester Business Journal, pickandsplinters.com. He knows a thing or two about hockey. Yeah. Vintage, that's what they can put on your name tag.
Too, though.
Well, you do know a lot about the Sabres, the Rochester Americans, so let's talk that for a minute here. End of the NHL season is drawing near, mercifully for the Sabres, who are bad once again, but some signs of life. They signed Casey Mittelstadt, they signed Will Borgen. The Rochester Americans are heading to the playoffs. How do you analyze the state of this franchise right now as we near the end of this year?
I think those two signings are critical in showing that people haven't given up on the Sabres. It's kind of a trend for college, not every college guy, but it's kind of a trend for the college guy to say, yeah, you know what, thanks for drafting me, but I'm going to just kind of play out the life in college, and then I'm going to sign wherever I want because I can by the rules. Mittelstadt signed very early in his career. Will Borgen still had a year left at St. Cloud. He signs. So that's a sign that at least they say, yeah, the Sabres, there's hope. They're going to have jobs. I don't know if Borgen's ready for the NHL, but Mittelstadt will be given every opportunity to play. If he's ready, I don't know. He could be in Rochester for a little bit next year, but at least they signed. They didn't do the VC, didn't do the Cal Peterson, didn't do the Butcher. They signed. That's big because at least they see hope.
But with VC and Peterson, it's different. I mean, VC wasn't a first-round pick, and he ended up coming to Buffalo via trade for his rights. He was only here for like 17 hours, and then...
But he spurned Nashville. He said, no, I don't want to sign there, and that's a pretty good organization.
True, but I think anything within, top 15 picks-wise, they're going to sign. And listen, I mean, Casey Mittelstadt is an international star while that IIHF Juniors tournament is happening. He's getting all this attention. Then after it's done, he's got to go back to Minnesota and play Minnesota college hockey.
On the big stage.
What big stage? Yeah,
okay. He's not at Bentley. He's not at RIT.
If he walks... He could drive over to Indiana. Everybody like, oh, wow, nice blonde hair person I've never seen before. He's an NHLer now.
Big stage and all is fine. You're getting tuition and books. He's getting paid now. He's moving that ahead.
They don't get paid there?
Oh, look at this.
Minnesota. And the other part is I'm wondering a little bit how much Eichel has to do with this. I do think he's a popular player among young players coming into the league, and I think he's the guy that if you're a hockey player and you've seen him play, especially in these international competitions, I think the guy is immensely talented, and you see an opportunity to get paid and jump right in and play. Why not come to Buffalo and play, get the clock moving, and get an opportunity to play in the NHL?
And the World Juniors sells Buffalo.
Yeah, that helped.
You come to Buffalo, you stay during the tournament, you meet everybody in the organization, you see what the fans are about. You kind of like it. So I think it's important they get that tournament every now and then to show the young kids, hey, Buffalo's not so bad.
And it's a big deal that he gets to play and stay in the NHL this year, right? He's not even coming to Rochester for the playoffs. I feel like that would be a big deal to a guy.
Not only that, but it's 1 year now. Right. Now he's got 2 years out of that entry-level deal left after this year.
And how about the Rochester Americans? Because they deserve a little love here. They're the team that is going to the playoffs for the first time in, I think, 4 years, trying to advance for the first time in 13 years. But how significant is this for the Sabres that their future club, the Rochester Amherst, are finally back in the postseason?
And not to say that games don't matter whenever you're playing in the NHL and even here, but not many guys in the organization have played meaningful games. And it's good to be under some pressure. And under the microscope, Rochester fans can be not forgiving if you're not playing well and don't perform to expectations. Linus Ullmark in goal is going to feel a little of that pressure. I think he does just fine with it. But the organization wants him to do well. There's some demands. I don't know if it's demands, but expectations for sure. Perform, do well, get used to playing in May.
Time to win, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's time for the fans to have a little something to cheer about. I came to this town 30 years ago. The Amerks had just won the Calder Cup. And they were a competitive, highly competitive team. Then won it again in 96. And every year, Kevin knows, he was covering the team every day. They were always in. It was a matter of how far they were going and the challenging. And then, poof, it went away. I mean, it just went away. They became an irrelevant AHL franchise. They need to be back to that a little bit for the fans. I'm looking forward to that. And I think for the organization, they need to win a series or two. They need to make a little bit of run in the playoffs if they get these guys back.
From hockey to baseball, a spring preview coming up next on the Rochester Press Box.
The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today.
Hello and welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. This segment brought to you by Connors and Ferris. And we're talking about baseball because, believe it or not, it is actually starting this week. Everyone getting going on opening day, and the Yankees are the evil empire once again.
Thank goodness.
Is it cool to hate the Yankees again, guys?
Sure. Even if you like the Yankees, it's great because they're supposed to win and they think they should win. But for the rest of baseball, they got to hate the Yankees, and it's a much better game when the Yankees are good. And it's an even better game when the Yankees are really good.
Right, and we always say that baseball needs a villain, right? Like, you got Bryce Harper. People love to hate that guy because he's cocky, he's brash, whatever.
It's better with the team.
But it's better with the team, right? It's better with that dominant force. And who better than the New York Yankees to get everyone interested in baseball again, even if it's to root against the team from
and
the
the
Bronx.
Second most hated team in baseball is probably the Red Sox, right? And they fight each other with who's the most hated franchise because they don't want to believe it. The Red Sox are really good too. I mean, they're very different teams, but I think it makes for a great rivalry, great for baseball. And the Yankees aren't just, the two players are not individually like hateable players if you're thinking about Judge and Stanton, but they're immense home run hitters. They're easy. They look like the guys when you watch the movie that the Yankee guy comes out of the dugout with the bat. That's what those two look like.
But it's funny, with Stanton and Judge, you don't hate them. They're not hateable. You don't hate them now. Wait until you see them on ESPN every day, and then one quote shows up that shouldn't have fallen out of their mouths, and all of a sudden, I'm in New York. You're going to hate them, and you're going to hate them for good reason.
But at least much of that team, again, like that run they had through the 90s to 2000, were homegrown players. Yeah. I mean, they're hated for years and years. And
Stanton's playing down in the minor.
Most of the players. Judge, Sanchez, I mean, on and on and on. But at least, I mean, I don't like them because
they always beat the Twins, right? Is that what it is?
I like them and I don't. It's a weird, I hope they win sometimes, but then it's like, oh my gosh, all they do is win. Give me something different.
Is there any chance that they're bad? I mean, or at least not as good? Because they overachieved last year. So everyone's kind of propped them up as that team to take the next step. Look, even Stanton had this unbelievable year compared to the rest of his career.
What's fascinating this year is to watch how they adjust to the manager who's never been a manager before. Yeah. We're so used to Girardi sitting there with the binder going through everything, every play in the way he is, and Boone's going to be very different. I think he's a very likable guy, Aaron Boone is, but there's going to be pressure on him if they don't get off to a good start. I think he's going to handle the press conferences better. I think he's going to be good in that way. And I think most people will realize this team will eventually hit, no matter how they start out in the season. But that's going to be interesting to watch to see.
This is going to be the prime example of how valuable a manager of a baseball team is, because Aaron Boone will not be as good as Joe Girardi is. He has absolutely zero experience when it comes to it. And that would be the ultimate of all ironies, right? They go out and they spend the money on Stanton, and they're going to go out and spend the money on a big-name free agent next season. Wouldn't it be great if the one guy that everybody in New York wanted out, Joe Girardi, is the reason why this team underachieves this season?
It's going to be hard to figure out because it's easy to pick moments with a manager, he didn't change the pitch or whatever it is. I think 85% of the guy's job is managing the people and managing the personalities, making sure players get rest at the right, all those things. Because you're an American League manager, you could take a nap during most games, right? You just sit back. I mean, seriously, you don't have to make double switches. You don't have to make. It's more about getting the team ready than it is moves during a game.
As Tom Kelly said going into the '87 World Series, Ooh, the double switch.
Real quick before we go, who you got World Series champ this year?
Yankees.
I'm going to say Yankees.
I don't want to, but I'm with the old guys. It's probably the Yankees, right?
Go Twins. I could wear my hat. Like it or not, coming up next.
Here's the Press Box Trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box Trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Hey, welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, Pat, let's start with you. The Bills this week at the owners' meetings, standing by Zay Jones, calling it an unfortunate situation. Like it or not?
Yeah, I think it's the right move. I mean, Mike can tell you, Kevin, I'm sure you've heard from people that Zay Jones is a very, very kind, likable kid. And I had said on Twitter when the whole thing started, like, if you made me pick one person in the NFL that this incident would happen to, the last person would have been Zay Jones. That being said, I understand that addiction and mental illness doesn't have a face, but there's something else that's making me upset with this whole Zay thing. Is there's a lot of people, the politically correct thing to say has been, well, he needs help. It doesn't necessarily mean he needs help either, right? There's a chance, and I don't mean to speculate, but word from a lot of former NFL players is this looks like what happens when you smoke synthetic marijuana that doesn't trip up drug tests in the NFL. I have personal experience with said synthetic marijuana a while ago when you could buy it legally in a head shop, and it put me in the hospital, right? I'm not a guy that can't handle that kind of thing. I didn't have a drug problem. It was a really, really bad night. And it's possible that Zay doesn't have a mental problem. It doesn't have a drug problem. He just had something, having a good time one night that didn't agree with him, and it's now the most embarrassing video maybe of the last 15 years in the NFL.
It does also say something that a team is willing to stand by a player that did go through something like that, even if it's a one-time thing, not to just cut him loose and stick by him.
Yeah,
right?
well, they better be standing behind him in this case because he has been an upstanding kid. They had investigated him before they make the pick. And, he comes from a good family. He comes from an NFL family. They know the league. He's with his brother who's an NFL player. There were obviously some extenuating circumstances to that. Now, he needs to get himself right, whatever that is, maybe to avoid whatever he did that night or allegedly did that night. But I'm very happy that the organization is with him because I do think he's a good kid who needs a bounce back here.
Talk about Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
Like it or not, the Giants have been very vocal about him needing to shape up. Do you like the idea of them trading him potentially?
I like the idea of them looking into it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's not about Odell Beckham is immensely talented, but the Giants haven't won anything with him. Now, I'm not saying you can't win with him. I'm saying they're looking at it going, okay, Odell Beckham in these circumstances has been a bit of a pain and we haven't won anything yet, and now we're going to pay him a fortune. He's going to hold out. He's going to want big, big money, and I think he can sort of force his way there. And the Giants, they maybe don't want to admit it, are still in somewhat of a rebuild mode, and that type of player, the top wide receiver, hasn't been prominent on a Super Bowl team in a while. I think if they get the right amount for him, they would do it, but I think he's going to hold out one way or the other.
Kevin, one more, like it or not. Beer foam art at Yankee Stadium, the MLB saying, cut it out.
Apparently there's players that are playing now, active, can't, sponsor beer, can't promote beer.
They can sell it at ballparks.
Right. So I don't get so they put a picture of somebody's in a in beer foam. This is really what it's come down to.
No, this is a slippery slope here.
Well, if you drop a beer, it does become a slippery.
That is true.
Boy, that's a good point.
Yeah, that is. That really is.
I think they should ban people who drop beer.
So the real lesson here is hold on to your
dangers.
beer, right?
Yes.
That's the real lesson here.
This is what MLB.
All right, final
I'm
thoughts.
blaming Goodell for this too.
That's right. It's his fault.
And I think we're done. Final thoughts when we come back on the Rochester Press Box.
Here is the MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Our defense has been good all year, but in this tournament, it's funny. Everybody just keeps missing against us. We just must be really lucky. Because I'm sure if we just snuck this game out, which we had a chance, it would have been because they didn't shoot well. Just like Michigan State didn't shoot well, and just like TCU didn't shoot well, and Arizona State didn't shoot well. These guys did it. It wasn't any team playing bad or shooting bad.
Dunkin' iced coffees are $2 from 2 to 6 p.m. That's right. All sizes, all freshly brewed, all with that signature smooth Dunkin' taste. Power up with a Dunkin' iced coffee for $2. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. It's time for Unfinished Business presented by Dunkin' Donuts. America and me runs on Dunkin'. Pat, we'll start with you.
I want to say thank you to LeBron James. Not because I enjoy cheering for him. In fact, quite the opposite. I enjoy cheering against LeBron James. But I realized the other day when they had mentioned that LeBron James is in his 15th NBA season, he is the last professional athlete still playing in his prime that started playing while I was still a kid. I was a junior in high school when he was drafted into the NBA. I'm now a 31, soon to be 32-year-old man with a mortgage and 2 kids that lives in the suburbs. And LeBron James is playing better basketball than he ever has. He makes me forget that I'm super old, or I'm getting super old, right? Every NFL star that I loved is long retired. Vlad Guerrero's kid hit a walk-off home run in Montreal the other night. I didn't even realize Vlad Guerrero wasn't playing Major League Baseball anymore. But I can always turn on ESPN and see that guy that was drafted when I was 16 years old still playing basketball. And as long as he's still playing well, I still feel young, and I still got it. And let's go do cartwheels, everybody.
I learned something today. He's younger than me.
You couldn't tell him that?
No, I really
Okay,
couldn't.
no.
It's all good. Kevin?
Maybe you missed Vlad's retirement because it was at night. All right, so you show up to Frontier Field on opening day. Hopefully they play an opening weekend, and there's not going to be netting in front of the dugouts. But 2 weeks later, 2 homestands later, the Wings hope there's netting. Major League Baseball has decided, you know what? We're tired of fans getting hit. Yeah, it's easy to say, pay attention. Don't use your phone. Pay attention to the game. If Major League ball players, the best in the world at catching a hit ball, a batted baseball, want netting in front of their dugouts and won't sit in a dugout without it, I think the fans should understand there's a danger. Let's just be safe. The netting's not that bad.
People make a really big deal out of it,
Tired of
right?
seeing kids get hit.
I want to hear.
Oh, he's making a face.
No, I want to hear what you don't think they should have the netting.
No, I want the netting. I almost got hit in the face with a screamer coming off. Yeah.
And as much so sitting there with your daughter at a game.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, you're petrified the whole time.
I've seen it at high school games
kids
everywhere.
get hit.
Yeah.
Right. Really, it's an instant. You can say, pay attention. I watch, I'm paying attention. I watch there's that one little instant. Somebody behind you kicks your chair. Whatever it may be, they're telling you to send your selfie so we can post it on the video board. The team is telling you to use your phone. It's common sense.
Also, you're not a superhero. If a broken bat comes flying into the crowd,
you're in
Chances
trouble.
are you're not catching that thing.
By the way, he almost made it out of that comment without sounding like an old man. The team's telling me to use my phone to send the pictures through the magic box. Ba-doo-ba-doo.
Almost made it out.
Almost.
I'm glad you're off the synthetic and on the
All right. Nobody likes to have more fun with our friend Jim Boeheim more than I do. But I did enjoy getting a chance to cover a couple of rounds of the tournament. And I got to tell you, I noticed a little difference in the guy. Maybe it's the idea that there's nobody, Mike Hopkins, hanging over his shoulder ready to take over as Hop's now out in Washington. But I got to tell you this, as much as we like to pick on him, he did a phenomenal job this year. He did not have the talent to go to the Sweet 16, and he got him there. And sure, it's boring basketball for everybody else, but what do we expect a coach to do? That's the team that he had. He made it work. And I got to tell you, and Toby knows this too, very likable, respectful, good kids on that team. They have gotten the most out of what they have, and Boeheim did a great job. But I'm really looking forward to next season, because next season, the talent level goes up. Next season, Jim's son is on the team, and from what everybody's telling me, this kid's going to get an opportunity to play too. And Boeheim seemed a little different. Sure, he's still the cranky old man. We can respect that. Like, we know that's the way it is. But I think he had a little more fun. I think he really loved this team, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with more talent next year.
Should be off the bubble.
Yep.
It'll be fun to watch. All right, guys, that'll do it for us. Mike, thank you. See you soon. Kevin, welcome back. And Pat, cool. This has been the Rochester Press Box. We'll see you next week.